Hello, my name is Yana. I live in a forest. I make things like quilts. I feel like the only thing that I've been doing for the past several months is just finishing things that I started last year. But it's time to start finishing another thing, and that's my gorgeous EPP baby quilt that brought a lot of people to the channel. It was sitting in a trunk for several months now because I have some decisions to make. I think I made up my mind on all of the options that I had to consider. So, things to decide are backing, binding, and quilting. Let's discuss them separately. What I do, like me being me, is I usually choose whenever I have questions like what do I choose for a color, I choose green because that's my favorite color and I like it because it's very gender neutral and neutral in all other ways. It's very foresty, very natural. I like nature. I think it works great with this palette. So that was my first choice. And the fabric, I didn't have options on fabric. I knew that I wanted to use this double gauze. So that's what I'm using. But when I spread this quilt top and look at it, I feel like the backing needs to be blue. And I happen to have just the right shade of blue that I think is going to work. It's not very bright. It's muted, so it works with the color palette of the whole thing. And the only problem that I have with it is that it kind of makes it a boy quilt, a quilt for a boy. And I like to keep things neutral. Fun fact, historically, I'm not sure about other countries, but in Russia, blue was a feminine color and red was a male color because masculinity is associated with sun and fire and passion and all the active things, and feminine energy is moonlight. It's more calm, it's more cold, it's more subtle. So blue was a color for a girl and red was a color for a boy. So I don't think that blue is necessarily a boyish color. I feel like it's actually quite feminine, but what I think doesn't matter. If I let this quilt out into the world, it's going to be perceived as a quilt for a boy. I think that I'm okay with it because it works. I think that it works really well, and it's a cool color. I like it, and the fabric is really beautiful. It's very soft. I like the tactile qualities of this fabric. So, because I'm not using green for the backing, I can use it for the binding. I have this beautiful Japanese cotton, and I think it's going to work great with this backing and with this quilt top. Don't you think? I think it's going to be great. And because those decisions are made, I can make a sandwich and I can start quilting. At least if I put it into a sandwich, two things are going to be happening. I have a piece of wadding. It was very expensive. It's 100% cotton wadding. It was hard to get because in Russia you don't just have a quilt shop. you have to order online. On very few websites sell natural wadding, and you have to pay like a lot of money, and you have to wait for it to be delivered. It's not easy, it's not convenient, but it's probably worth it. But I'm going to cut my wadding to size, and this way I'm going to have the rest of it available for different projects. I'm going to see what I can do with it, because that's a baby quilt. I'm not going to use a lot, so I'll have a lot left, and I can make some mini projects with it because I really like the stuff. The second thing is I'm just going to have it available even if I don't start working on it right away, because I still have a lot of things to finish, but I'm going to have it available. If I feel like working on it, I'll be able to do so. But we have the third unknown in here, and that's the quilting. So my design is very, very square. That's why I wanted to have something more interesting going on, something more round. So I have those squiggles. I bought all the squiggles. I'm not sure if I can show you. Can you? Yeah, like that. You can see there are some squiggles that are... I'm going to transfer them with some chalk pan. I'm going to put them onto my quilt, and hopefully I'm going to try and quilt it by hand. And because it's such an intricate design with a lot of twists and turns, I had to buy a frame. We all know and love the From Small Things channel, and she's using a frame like that. And I've never used a frame like that. I have an embroidery hoop, which I tried using previously, but I don't really like it. But this thing is so tight. I'm not sure if it's going to be a success, but I'm going to try it and report back. So the plan is make a sandwich and try quilting this intricate design using a frame. If it doesn't work, I'm going to unpick everything and I'm going to do diagonal lines, because diagonal lines always work. And it's going to look good, and it's going to take a lot less time. So why don't I do the diagonal lines to begin with? Because I'm interested to make an artistic statement, I guess. I want this to be interesting. Whenever he sees a fabric on the floor, he automatically assumes that that's for him. Look at that thing. Sick. I think that this episode can be called Things I Learned from Sue of the From the Small Things channel, because I'm thread basting. I'm not doing it on a floor. I'm doing it on a table because it's a small thing. I can do it on a table, and I usually baste big quilts on a table as well. I might put it on a floor temporarily to kind of make sure that things are in the right place, but then I do a couple pins and then I take it onto the table and do a more thorough pinning on the table, because I wouldn't be able to crawl for a couple hours to baste it on the floor. Yeah, it's going well. I'm basting it, and then I need to figure out what color thread I want to use. I have some nice teal here, but I surely don't have enough. I can order some. I can order some of that. But that's a story for a different time. I'm getting ahead of myself. But I'm going to be so excited that I've, basted it, that I'm going to be very eager to try out the new stencil that I have and the new frame that I have and everything. So I might just start with this thread that I have here. But for now, I'm still basting. Hopefully, I'm going to finish basting today. A little stitching update. I did I did a test. I took this thread, which is actually it's crochet thread, but it looks like pearl, but it's not. It's called iris. It's for knitting and crochet. And I took my hand quilting thread from Gurtenman, and I did a tiny test of this and a bigger test of this because I've decided that I'm using this one. I'll show you and explain you. It's incredibly hard to see, but here's my little test of the hand quilting thread. It's actually impossible to see because it's very, very thin, and I have my chalk background here, but I figured that if I use this stitching, it's going to be invisible. It's only going to be visible from the other side. And with thicker thread, I was afraid that it's going to be a bit too loud, but it's perfect because I want it to be visible. I want it to be a part of the design, but I don't want it to be like too overpowering. And from this test, I can tell that it's perfect. And here is the inner part. Here's my little test with the pink thread. And here's my test with the blue thread. It's beautiful, intricate, but it's not overpowering. Like, you can see the stitches, but they're not too strong. So I'm going with this option. It's going to be a lot of fun. A little bit of a thing is that I'm not quilting. I'm doing embroidery on a quilt. Well, like, I'm quilting, but I'm doing half a stitch at a time. I'm not doing the rocking stitch or something. The needle goes down and then I push it out and then I go put it down, and then I push it out, because I think that because the thing is curved, the pattern that I'm doing is curved, it's not going to be possible to do any like many stitches at a time, but I'm actually enjoying the process, so I'm fine with it. It might take some time, but I'm enjoying it. I'm watching my shows, so I don't know how long it's going to take, but I like what I see, and I've already ordered some more blue thread to make sure that I have enough. And if I don't have enough, I'll order some more. Yeah. I'll see you when I've done some of the stitching already. Hello. So, I have been stitching for several days now, and I'm not sure if I'm making it ugly. And I probably won't know until it's completely finished and washed. So, very interesting to be me right now. I like the visible stitching, especially on this part, but I'm not sure about this part. And right now, I don't know what it looks like because I have my felt pen that I'm marking it, and it's just not finished, and I don't see the whole picture, so I don't know if I'm ruining it, but theoretically I could unpick it right now. Like, I have an almost complete column of stitching, like almost the whole top to bottom of the quilt, but I'm not going to. If it doesn't look good to me, it's going to look good to somebody else, I suppose, but it certainly is a look, and I don't know, it's quite dense quilting, and I really like doing it. I enjoy the process. I cannot get enough. I would do it all day, every day if I could. Unfortunately, I have other things to do. I'm usually not into quilting that much. I'm just, it's something that needs to get done. But right now I'm enjoying myself a little bit too much. Maybe because it's too much work. It's more work than necessary. So I always like this for some reason, like make a quilt completely by hand. Yes, sign me up. I don't know what it is. The complete inefficiency of the process is what makes it worth it for me. I don't know. Also, because I'm doing it on a frame, I thought that maybe I could try working on my lap, like get comfortable. Work like that. It's actually quite comfortable as long as I have the light. I'm good, but a lot is demanded of me when I'm on a sofa like that. You know, belly rubs. Hello. So I did one full column of quilting, and I started the second column. You won't be able to see anything. I'll show you. Here is the edge of my first column, and here's where I started the second one, and I'm not sure if you can see, but there's a gap. There's a gap. Those patterns are staggered, so here's one, and here's the other one, and they're staggered so that they're exactly in the middle. So this is in the middle of those two. but I feel like there's quite a big gap in here, and I did it. There are little markings on the pattern. I'm pretty sure that it's impossible to see like that. You can see that there are dots on the pattern, on the template, I should say, and I staggered them using those as a guide, and I feel like I don't like how it looks, and because I only have one started and not completely finished, I've decided to take it out and move this thing a little bit closer to the first one, and I'm going to move it so that they kind of interact more, and this line that is kind of very, very straight and obvious here, it's not as visible. I think that you cannot see what I'm talking about. Anyway, short version. I'm going to move my template like this a little bit and a little bit closer, so that this line on the border is not as obvious. That means that I'm going to take this stitching out, and yeah. At this point, I'm not sure if I'm ruining my quilt or not, because I'm not sure if I like the stitching, but it's too late to change anything. So right now the plan is, if I feel like I don't like what I'm doing, and if I feel like I'm ruining it, I'm still working on it, I'm finishing it, and in the meantime I can plan the new quilt in my head. Because when I was studying graphic design and illustration, there was one rule that I learned in design school. That rule is, when you start a drawing, you finish it, because you cannot tell what a drawing is going to look like until it is finished. And every drawing has an ugly stage, so you just cannot afford to turn back, because if you constantly stop to change something, you will not finish anything ever. But because I didn't commit to the second column yet, I'm going to take it out and pivot a little bit. Yeah, I don't want to feel like I took any shortcuts, but at the same time, I'm not sure if what I'm doing is right. But I'm committing. I don't remember when we did the last update, but recently I've reached one of the ends of the quilt. Like, see, this part is quilted, this part is not quilted. And because my stencil that I'm using, where is it? I have a stencil, I'm using it, and the quilt fits 7 rows of stencil across. So I have 4 out of 7 rows done. That means that I have less than a half left. And theoretically, if I did one kind of square, one stencil a day, I could do this in 3 weeks. And right now is the 7th of April, by the way. I started in the end of January. But I'm going to say that doing this, well, more than a half. It took me maybe 6 weeks. I'm not counting the time where I didn't touch it because I was a bit low. So we're going to say 6 weeks to do 4 out of 7, and in an ideal world it would be 3 weeks to do the rest. the math isn't mathin' because, well, in an ideal situation, it would take 3 weeks, but realistically, I think it would take 4 or 5 weeks. So I'm going to finish it in May, hopefully. But um, the funniest thing is that I'm not sure if I like it. I'm too deep to pivot, and the back looks gorgeous, but the front, I'm not sure, maybe it's a bit too loud. But the back, amazing, great choice, very interesting, but not sure about the front. But it always happens. Like, I have never done a project where halfway through I wouldn't say, oh, it's terrible. It's terrible, I don't like it, I don't want to finish it. But we're in too deep, so I have to just keep going. It's the 24th of June, and I started quilting this quilt on the 27th of January, and I finished it yesterday. So it took about 5 months, and I could have done it faster, but let's be real, there were gaps when I did other exciting things, and yeah, now it's done. And I think a lot about the fine line between crafts and arts, because I think I crossed it with this one. It's not a baby quilt anymore. It's a work of art. And I'm not sure how I feel about this. The amount of stitching on this is ridiculous. And it's hand stitching and it's completely unnecessary. That's what makes it so artsy. But everything on this quilt up to this point was done by hand. It was pieced by hand, it was quilted by hand, and now I'm going to change this. Everything on this quilt is very delicate, and this choke line is where I intend to cut it. So, in order to make sure that it doesn't fall apart, I'm going to run a line of stitching all around the perimeter, and that's going to be step one of the finishing of this quilt. Step two is going to be making the binding. Step three is going to be making a quilt label. It took me a lot of time to come up with a name. This version wasn't legible, so I had to make another one. I chose a name which cannot be translated into English. It's vidimo nevidimo. It means visible and visible, and it actually means just a lot. So much that the eyes cannot comprehend how much it is. So I was kind of thinking about the idea that I have those big squares that are very visible, and smaller squares, which are also visible, but there's a lot of them. But when you come closer, you can see the stitch lines, and there's a lot of stitch lines, and they are kind of invisible. So visible and visible is kind of the vibe that I was going for. And I think that Russian cursive is known to be not very legible, but this is not very pretty, but it at least you can read what it says. So I'm going to keep it like this. Step 4 is going to be attaching the quilt label and the binding. And then step 5 is going to be stitching it down with a slip stitch, as usual. I don't quite remember when I started piecing this quilt, but because part 1 of this video was published in October, I suppose it was late summer, and piecing it wasn't that hard. And quilting it took 5 months, and there was a little break in the middle when the quilt top was just resting. But here's what I want to talk about. It's a very simple design. It's nothing special, it's just squares, and because it's hand pieced, there's nothing clever about piecing this kind of quilt top. All the beauty is in the colors because, well, I'm not shy with my colors, you know. If something works, it works. If something doesn't work, it doesn't work. I feel like messing up is easiest when it comes to color. And I also think that color is the most important part of designing a quilt. I might be wrong, but that's just how I feel. So, because all these colors work so well together, it's a very effective design. It's a beautiful, simple quilt, but I've elevated it into art by spending an insane, crazy amount of hours quilting it. And you know how sometimes us women we feel like, oh, it's just something I made? It isn't. It isn't just something I made. It's something that I made it. I am an artist and I made this thing and it's worth something. And I always have this feeling of emptiness when a project is finished. This time is no different. I didn't have a thing. Now I have a thing. It's a thing. But I just have this, just a little bit for a change, a little bit of appreciation for all the work I did. And yeah, it's going to be loved by somebody, probably. But for now, it's going back into my wooden chest, where all the things are kept safe from the cats. And yeah, I don't want to brag, but it's something special. If you're still here, I'm sorry for being absent for the past 3 weeks. I just was a little bit stressed, you know. I didn't feel like doing much filming anything, so I'm not sure if we're going to return to our regular schedule, but we'll see how it goes. You know, I don't wanna do anything that makes me unhappy right now. But quilting does make me happy, so we'll see. We'll see. I'll see you later.